Hey guys, and welcome to a very special episode of Two Bald Nobz. Here we are. So yes, as you can see, rather than the beautiful artwork that was done of our handsome bald faces, you've got us live in the flesh. Well, I say live, we're not actually live, this is going to be recorded and edited, but you take my point. And reason for that is kind of just wanted something a bit more visual and shake the format up, and it's just something we're trying out at the moment. And yeah, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties and stuff, but we are currently working off a phone, Scarner's computer, my Xbox, and yeah, somehow, some way, it's all come together to give us this format where you're seeing me here on my comfy, tatty armchair, but it's my comfy throne man chair, and the handsome, glorious Scarner.
What's the crack?
This is cool. I think this format could work. This could work.
It's almost like we're in the same room.
It almost is. And hopefully you can hear Scarner okay. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is just turn the volume up a little bit, because I'm very conscious that they're not going to be able to hear you. So let's do that. So if you could say something wise and witty.
How is?
Whoa, that's loud. Let's turn that down a little bit.
The neighbours will be giving out to you.
There you go. That should be.
Why is there an Irish man swearing in your
So yeah, here we are guys, yeah, live in the flesh. So yeah, like I say, this is something we're going to try out. Don't know if we're going to do this for every episode. As we go forward, yeah, we'll give it a bash. And as we go forward, I'm getting dangerously close now to being able to get a decent setup, as in get myself a computer, get myself a webcam, and start to improve the quality of my videos, which will improve the quality of these podcasts that we do. And hopefully you'll get we'll have a more visual experience for you, where we can both appear on camera and we can cut to pictures and we can just improve the format massively. But it all takes time, so yeah, we're going to give this a whirl's day, see how this works. If this works, it might be something we stick to until I get to that situation. But yeah. But anyway, enough about that. How have you been, Scarner?
I've been grand. Well, how long has it been since our last episode? I'm trying to remember, did I stab myself in the leg before or after that one?
After, yeah, you stabbed yourself after. It was.
I managed to stab myself in the leg. It was at, I don't know, 11 or 12 o'clock at night whilst hobbying.
He's just trying to.
That moment in time, yeah, it's like you've done your hand, but I managed to stab myself in the leg. But mine didn't go lengthways, mine went deep. It was like, funsies.
Yeah, mine was more of a slice. Yours is more of a stab.
Yeah. Mine was more of a stab. Yeah. And then it was at that point I discovered we don't have any paper stitches or plasters or first aid stuff at all. So it was like bottle of Jameson and a tub of super glue is what I had to fix myself. So it's all healed up now, thankfully.
It was great as well, because Scarner was messaging me pretty much straight after the incident had happened, didn't you?
As it was happening, I was like,
yeah, with photos and. But I don't know if you were looking for sympathy. I can tell you he got none. He got
more advice. It's like, what am I supposed to do now? Shit.
He got lots of LOLs and laughy faces, and yeah, it was.
So basically, no help from your side of things at all. You were just sort of like, ha.
And I was literally seeing the pictures and the messages and just chuckling away to myself as he's scrabbling around looking for super glue and you know, tearing up an old t-shirt he can use for a bandage and stuff, and yeah.
Trying to find duct tape to close up the wound or something. It's like, Jesus, I couldn't find nothing.
So what have you...
packing tape, but...
So other than stabbing yourself and causing me immense entertainment, what have you been doing hobby-wise?
Hobby-wise, I have been cracking on with a Chaos Kill team that I'm nearly finished painting. I was doing Iron Warriors, and they're mostly painted up now. I think it's about 5 or 6 cultists and about 5 or 6 actual Chaos Space Marines. I scratch built a little icon standard for them. And I'm going to be doing a Gorka Morka mob next.
Cool.
Next on the plans.
Oh, sweet.
Hopefully I get a game or two of Gorka Morka in and start doing a video or two about that.
Well, the kill team is looking really, really good. And when I finally do get pull my finger out and get my kill team done. It sounds like it'd be. I'd quite like to face those Iron Warriors on the kill team table.
Yeah, we give it a crack.
Yeah,
but that's I plan on doing quite a few kill teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same. I do plan on doing a Necron kill team at some point, because that will be. I've got most of the models I need for a Necron kill team, and I've painted Necrons before, so I know they can be done quickly and easily and look effective. So that'll be. But I need to get an Ork kill team done first. I've got to.
I've done an Ork kill team up on a list. I just haven't built it as of yet. I found it. It's kind of interesting because I only collect orcs. It's interesting to sort of paint different things as well.
Yeah.
So now if you get like a bit of painter's burnout, because I tried painting a lot of boys with like really high detail in camo, and it sort of killed my painting for a while. But painting different things in between seems to.
Yeah, it's quite fun as well. If you're just painting one miniature or a very small squad, it's not daunting. It refreshes you. It's something different to try, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
there's only 12 of them. It's grand.
I painted
if there's like 60, 70 or 90 of them, it's like that's a different matter.
Oh yeah. And I painted my son's Space Marine captain in Terminator armor for him, and that was great fun to paint. And like I say, it was such a different style of painting. With the orcs, you're kind of used to a lot of dry brushing, a lot of washes, and being rough and ready with them. But with the Space Marines, certainly with the Loyalists at least, it's a lot more clean cut and sort of edge highlighting and things. And it was, but it was fun, and it looked. If I do say so myself, it looked quite good, and I think he was pleased with it. But yeah, it's quite refreshing to paint something different. But yeah, me hobby wise, I have been working on my mech guns, as a lot of you would have seen the other day on my live video, completely spontaneous live video that I did. They're coming along nicely, and I've just ordered, for those mech guns, I've ordered some oval bases. So,
cool,
yeah, I ordered those, so I'm going to make sort of little mini dioramas out of them, basically, and get the mech gun on the base with the grot crew on it, all as one piece, so easier to sort of move around on the table. The grots get ignored anyway, so as long as GW don't revert back to the old rules and have the grots as a separate unit, which will really fuck me off.
Just to spite you.
Yeah.
Just to spite you.
And knowing GW, they probably will.
We'll get them.
But I think I'm safe on that front. I think I'm safe because people were abusing that rule a lot, and I think so they killed that abuse off straight away, having grot crew run off and grab objectives and things. I think there were some
taking the piss, yeah.
There were some non-orc players that probably cried foul on that and got GW to change it. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing there. So I'm waiting for them to come in the post, and I'm really enjoying them, and I'm kind of determined to get them done. I want to get them built. I want to get them painted, based. So I've got them finished. Finish my killer cans off, and then I'll be working on towards, that 500 point army that I haven't forgotten, that I've promised by the end of the year. On this podcast, you heard it on the New Year's special.
My 2,000 points. It's like I haven't started on them, but I've gone till December. Don't worry.
But you have some stuff painted, don't you? You've got a fair few bits painted.
I think I've 30 orc boys and like 15 looters. I would call them tabletop standard, where everything's blocked in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've started on some of the detail, but they're not like 100%.
So you could kind of cheat effectively. You could pull some stuff out of the box that you painted 10 years ago and go, yeah, I painted these already.
Yeah, but I'd have to have actually been painting stuff 10 years ago. You see the problem? Yeah.
Oh,
no, it's not be much of a payday.
This makes me feel better though, because my painting is just that's the part of the hobby I'm really lax at, and I've got to. I'm determined. I'm kind of feeling a bit of a rejuvenation. I've had a little bit of hobby burnout recently because of chest infections and various things, but I'm feeling a little bit rejuvenated, and I'm feeling that sort of spark and drive a little bit more now. So yeah, I'm determined to get some stuff painted and just get something done, and be able to show it off to you guys on the channel. But that's not really why we're here. We're here to first chat a little bit about the latest news and things that's been coming from GW. We've had some very exciting news today, haven't we, on the Warhammer community site and at Adepticon.
Yeah, they were Shown a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff, so like forbidden powers, but nothing I'd be too interested. It's like it's Age of Sigmar. It's like, meh.
Well, no,
He's said around.
This is the Slanesh stuff you're talking about, is it?
Well, there's like, I don't know, there's like endless spells, and yeah, there's some Slanesh stuff there somewhere. It's the Keeper of Secrets. Yeah, there's a new Keeper of Secrets.
And there's a new mask and another character, isn't there? There's a couple of new characters and things. And I watched the trailer this morning before going to work, the new sort of sneak peek trailer. GW, the trailers they're putting out for these things are brilliant, I've got to say, regardless of what the models look like and stuff. Some of these teaser trailers and the things they put out with the voiceovers and stuff, they're really getting their marketing down.
Did you see the 50 Shelves of Grey?
Yeah.
Video? It's like if ever there was something applicable to me and you, it's like, yeah, all right, fair enough.
Pretty much.
Fair enough. It's a low blow, but all right, lads, we get you.
But yeah, the new Slanesh stuff, which obviously is Age of Sigmar, like you say, but it's equally applicable to 40k because this is demons, and so this is, and yeah, the people have been crying out for the Slanesh stuff for quite a while, and I'm a bit of a Chaos fanboy. I do have a love for Chaos. I used to have a Chaos army, a Black Legion army, and it did have elements of Slanesh within that army. I'd say for me, Undivided is my kind of chosen, worship all the gods, but I do sort of veer slightly towards Slanesh, and so seeing these models was quite cool, and they've been crying out for a new Keeper of Secrets for a long time, and I initially, when I first started, I thought, wow, looks great. And then I brought the picture up big on my phone and had a look at it in a bit more detail. And I was a bit, I don't know, the head, I'm not 100% sold on. I like the sort of pose of it and the arms and stuff. It's got those elements of the claws and it's only got 2 breasts, which...
looking at the image here, I pulled it up. I think it's like 1 and a peck.
It probably is actually, because that is traditional, yes, because it's sort of hermaphrodites, aren't they? Half man, half women, they're kind of, but they've usually got the sort of, at least a 3 down one side kind of thing. They haven't got that, they're covered, which seems to be the way GW go now. They don't like the explosion.
There's not enough cleavage for Stevos, like, it's like, what's going on?
Need more nips.
I don't know, it like, the model doesn't look stereotypical sort of, Warhammer to me. Like it doesn't, like it to me the miniature looks like it could have been made by a third party supplier. It doesn't look like Warhammer. Obviously there's like the Slanesh symbol, but the aesthetic of it doesn't, like if you were to put that on the table and not have told me that was made by Games Workshop, I probably wouldn't have thought it was, because the aesthetic of it is so different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What I'll probably do, guys, is while we're chatting about this, I'll bring a picture up on the screen of this during the editing and that, so I'll put pictures up of what we're talking about. But yeah, I'm wondering as well, like the Great Unclean one, and what's the other one they've got out, the current one, because I know there's several needing an update. I know the Great Unclean one, though, has several options in the kits for different heads, different arms, weapons, different bits. So
maybe we haven't seen the kit.
So yeah, there's, because I know the old Keeper of Secrets had a sort of a bull head option, and then it had the more sort of demonic face option. So I'm hoping that this has those same options, that it has maybe something quite feminine, beautiful looking, something a bit more sort of bull-like or demonic-like. So, and it seems to be where they're going with a lot of these things now, with special characters and stuff even. As we'll go into in a little while, with different head options and stuff. And so if they follow that same design from the Great Unclean one, which I think is a stunning model, but yeah, I'm hoping they've got that. So I'm hoping what they've just revealed today is just a sneak peek, as in this is one way to build it, and that in future, in the next couple of days, we will see some different variations of this Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah, you're probably right. They do that with a lot of their kits. They'll have different options for builds and stuff. So looking at the picture they've released, I'm like, okay, it's not. When I think Keeper of Secrets, I don't think of something like this. But then that's not to say that this isn't also a possibility in the realm of chaos because it's chaos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just doesn't scream Keeper of Secrets to me.
Mm.
Maybe I'm just too old school at this stage.
What? And I know they've also talked about Apocalypse.
They did. They talked a little bit about Apocalypse, which I find interesting. Obviously, it being 40k, I have a lot more to say about it. Because I find it odd when Apocalypse, I think, originally came out in 4th edition? When the Apocalypse rulebook came out? Hold on. As he goes to the Apocalypse rulebook beside him, conveniently enough.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it was 4th edition.
I think it was about 4th edition. Even a year. A year on it? That would be too easy. Made in China in 2007. Yeah, it would have been 4th because 5th came out in, 2008, I think. Yeah, so it would have been 4th edition. And so we've seen over the years that Apocalypse eventually got folded into the game with 7th edition. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting what direction they bring it. They talk about movement trays. So there's going to be movement trays in it.
Yeah, I know it talks about sort of less importance on the individuals and more the big units and stuff. So maybe
more the units.
I feel like it's almost a veiled way of almost saying a simplification of the rules. Maybe we will, because obviously being on a grander scale and stuff, they're going to simplify some of those rules from standard 40k that don't scale up so well, and to sort of keep the game a bit more streamlined, which I think is a good thing.
It just it sounds like. Have you ever played Epic? Epic was.
I had Epic when I was very, very young, and me and a friend did play it. But what we played, I can tell you, was not the official rules.
But it sounds like from what we're being told, the very limited amount we're being told, it sounds like 40k scale Epic. Do you know what I mean? It's like. Because Epic was mass combat with units.
Is Apocalypse going to be the same without those big pie plates, though?
I don't know.
Or
it'll never be the same. Throwing dinner plates around left, right, and centre.
If they're talking about movement trays, though, who knows? Being a separate game for 40k, they may bring that sort of thing back. Possibly. It's possible. I think those. Yeah. Because. Obviously, we've replaced sort of the small blast marker in 40k for a D3 and the large blast marker for a D6 or a 2D6. Those big pie plates, you're going to be rolling like 10 D6, aren't you? To for hits and stuff.
They're emphasising quite a lot. It's like it's a totally new rule set designed to capture spectacular carnage, but it's a totally new game on a new scale, giving you a new way to use your existing collection. So it's a new game, Like looking at the box, obviously we've only been shown a snippet of it. It looks like a board game, sort of the way it seems to be packaged. But it's interesting. I don't know. I'm inquisitive about it, but I don't really have my hopes up for anything. I'd like to be pleasantly surprised for once. You know what I mean?
I think for me personally, interest is a bit low on it. I mean, I'll keep an eye on it, and I'm interested to see what happens with it, but. For me, Apocalypse games were like a very occasional fun thing to do. A group of friends together where you could all ally and have just a big game. Or for me at the time when I used to combine my Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons and Chaos all in just one big fuck off army and say, mate, right, you bring all your armies, I bring all mine and we'll just go at it. But for me, I always tended to prefer the standard size games of 40k and even the Combat Patrol and the smaller scale games. But Apocalypse for me is just something to do for shits and giggles almost. As a very occasional thing.
Yeah.
But it's
I used to do it every 6 months. I'd meet up with other guys who collected orcs, and we just played orc only Apocalypse games. And the guys would come and they'd bring their custom crawler tanks, which are bigger than Baneblades. Some of the guys scratch-built Gargants. You'd have claws, stompers, everything gargantuan squigots, and it's just orcs against orcs and carnage. Smash. It's in the middle. So I'll probably give you an image for that so you can throw that up and show some of the guys. Yeah.
Cool.
So, I like playing Apocalypse with mates. It's a good laugh.
Oh hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Pick your own scenarios up as you go along.
I've got some of the Apocalypse games I had actually do stick out in my memory as being particularly good. And we generally used to do good versus evil. I know technically it's all shades of grey in the 41st millennium and everything, but so we used to do Tau, Elder, Space Marines, Guard against Nids, Necrons, Chaos, Dark Elder, Orcs, and it was good fun. It was good fun just to throw down and just have carnage. But those games used to take a long time, so that's why I think streamlining of it would be good to a degree. And movement trays could be really useful for us, Orc players, and a lot of other Horde armies, whether you play Apocalypse or not.
Yeah, well, it just depends. Like, when I found playing Apocalypse-sized games in 6th and 7th edition took forever, but they talk about streamlining it. We actually found when we started playing Apocalypse-sized games in 8th edition that the games, we'd actually get the games finished. Whereas when we were playing in 7th, we'd only get to about turn 4. Whereas the latest edition, you get an Apocalypse-sized game, and we're talking 16,000 points a side worth of orcs. Like, you're talking like 4, 5, 6 players each side. These are massive games, man.
Yeah.
And, so I find if you dedicate a day to it, you could get an Apocalypse game in with the current edition. Whereas previously, that was a bit of a tall order to try and get an Apocalypse game in one day. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Starting at 10 and probably finishing at about 6 with lunch in between. But it'll be interesting to see what their streamlined rules are like.
Yeah.
It's totally different altogether.
But obviously, the big news at the moment, the big news is the Chaos releases. The pre-orders and the releases that have...
the Codex.
The new Codex and some of those stunning, gorgeous new Chaos models. That we have the new Chaos Space Marine kit, which looks incredible. A beautiful update on what was already, I think, a good kit, but was starting to show its age slightly. The updated Chaos Space Marines look beautiful. Abaddon, the Despoiler, who has been crying out for a new model for so long and has been desperately in need for one. And I personally think they've just knocked it out of the ballpark with him. I think he looks incredible. What's your feeling?
I think it's alright. I figured I had a conversation with a friend and I was talking to him, and he's like really old school player from like Rogue Trader days. And I was talking to him about it. I think it's just the style of sculpting now, because things aren't sculpted by hand anymore. They're all done in CAD. I think the thing that seems a bit off to me is any time that they sculpt organic material in their CAD format or their whatever digital format they're doing, it looks a bit off. Whereas when I found when flesh and the likes of force or organic materials are sculpted by hand, they seem more natural because of the imperfections.
Yeah,
it's just me personally.
You almost sort of saying like that some of the newer miniatures and stuff, although they're incredibly detailed, they've almost lost that little bit of charm that the older miniatures
they've lost
had.
a little something.
Yeah.
Now, it looks fine for vehicles and power armor and swords and, hard angled things or even smooth armor. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to organic materials, I find personally that a lot of this stuff has lost a bit of charm. So I like Abaddon, the miniature as a whole, but his face, even the one that's covered up, I really like his face on it. I love the 3 different head options you got. You got the traditional style sort of war cry, screaming, sort of psychotic, battle mode Abaddon. You've got the sort of stoic general, with this cold grimace, looking like he's just ordered his men to slaughter a village full of women and children. He looks on coldly. He's got a really good sort of that cold, heartless bastard look to it. And then you've got the mask one, if you don't like painting faces, which in itself looks pretty cool. I think all 3 look really good in their own way, and I love how they haven't deviated massively from what he already looked like. You can see the same design following through. Oh yeah, you can tell it's Abaddon.
It just looks refined and it looks good, and They've bulked him up in size. He looks good. The way and standing over the body of a Primaris lieutenant, and the way they revealed that in that opening trailer, how they almost teased that there's a new lieutenant on the way, and then it shows it as a corpse under Abaddon's foot. Chaos players must have just creamed their pants when they saw that. So yeah, I think he looks incredible. And then they've got, what else have they got? They've got new Havocs coming up, which themselves look very cool. What I really like about those is Havocs traditionally have just been Chaos Space Marines with big guns. Now I like the detail they've got on the feet, where they've almost like they've got these things that clamp them down to the ground. They've got something that looks like they sort of lock themselves into position, firing positions and stuff, and I like that. I think they look very cool. And
they look like they carry some heavy dagger. Right?
Oh
like
yeah,
they're just like big, beefy, big, massive chains of bullets getting fed up.
And they've got a new gun that puts the big shooter to shame, which I will just kind of want the big shooter to match the stats of this thing now. It's some sort of onslaught Gatling cannon, or I can't remember what it's called, a Havoc cannon or something. It's a big ass chain gun, and I think it's heavy 8. It has 8 shots.
That's yeah.
Don't quote me on that, because I saw that on another video. What was I watching? Mini Wargaming. I think I saw that on where they were going through the codex. And I'm pretty sure he said 8 shots on that thing. If that's true, oh my god, you know, I'm jealous. But yeah, that sounds like a troop killing monster of a gun. What else have they got? They've got the Havocs. There's something else on the way that you can pre-order as well soon.
Soon, pre-orders? What have they got in pre-orders? You can get yourself Vigilus of Blaze Collector's Edition for €6.
We don't
Wonder
talk
if Dread's
Vigilus.
going to order some of them. Maybe Dread will order himself one, huh?
Yeah.
There's this
limited edition one.
Yeah, I know, man, I know. He'll be
oh, Dread.
He'll be going mad about that. There's some limited edition dice, and then there's like the Chaos Space Marine Data cards, and then there's a piece of terrain, the Noctilith Crown.
There's another unit. There's another unit. What is it? There's Havocs and something else on the way, and I can't. Terminators. Chaos Terminators. That's the other one that's on the way very soon.
Oh yeah, the newer ones.
Yes, which when I saw them initially, I thought I thought they put the wrong picture up. I thought, well, they're just the old Terminators. But having a closer look, yeah, they're very subtly refined. I think they're more detailed, they're crisper, possibly slightly larger. I'm not sure on that, but yeah, I think, unless there is a scale difference with them, I think you could put them with the older ones, and I think they'll blend in nicely amongst them and get more variety in there. But they look very similar. They look like they've just been a slight improvement in them, and just they've kept them very...
That's always a good sign, where it's like it's an improvement over the previous model, but at a glance you'll know straight away, no matter how long you've been playing 40k. It's like, oh, that looks like a Chaos Terminator. That's a Chaos Terminator. And that looks like Abaddon, even though it's a whole new model.
And I agree. I think it's a great way to update. Sometimes they update something and completely take it in a different direction or revamp it, and it makes the old stuff look so dated. But I think it's great for people that have already got players that have got a large collection of Chaos Terminators and don't want to sell them or replace them or have them look outdated and crap. I think they're still going to look fine on the tabletop next to these. And I think it's a great way. It pleases everyone, I think. And the only thing I noticed about them that was quite a big improvement is the spikes on the back. They've always traditionally had like giant, thick spikes that in real life would be like the size of a lamppost.
Now, hold on. Let's not talk about real life scale and 40k miniatures, because that's a black hole that you'll just go into.
So, how many of those Space Marines can fit in that tiny rhino?
Gun calibers and all this type of stuff. Firing tank shells that are the size of dustbins. It's like, no bother, that'll work. So.
Yeah, how many of your mates have you tried to fit into a mini? I think it's effectively what happens when you bundle 10 Space Marines into a rhino.
Something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, they look thinner. They look more to scale. They look crisper and nicer and just more finely detailed, and they look good. They look good. I think it's Chaos players have much to be excited about with their releases, and I think you know where I'm going, don't you?
Yeah, their releases. I'm like, there's got to be an Ork or Moan rant in here somewhere.
There it is. There it is. GW, this is what we wanted for our faction. Now, don't get me wrong. What we got...
Those bleeding Ork players, they're never happy. Doesn't matter what we give them. Nobody's complaining.
You know there are certain viewers that's going to be saying just that.
Oh, yeah.
You know
I can hear it. They type it in the comment section.
Totally.
Who's lot are never happy.
Well, do you know what? No, we're not, and fuck you. But the buggies we got, the Death Killer Wardrobe and all that, they're fantastic looking miniatures. I think in game terms, some of them to a lesser or greater extent are good. You know, they're fine for what they are, but it's not what we wanted. Yes, we did desperately need an updated buggy, desperately. That model was ridiculously old, but they got Abaddon. They got Abaddon. Where's Gazgul? Where's Gazzy? Like, he didn't need his update as much as Abaddon did, admittedly. Abaddon was just ridiculously outdated. Gazgul, I think, does still just about hold up as a miniature in the scale of things in the faction.
Scale-wise, probably not. Like, a lot of people these days, they like to have their war bosses be, like, mahusive. So a lot of them tend to be bigger than Gazzy. Well, we don't know what the future might hold, because if we're talking about the Chaos releases, the fact that they've updated this codex, so they've updated the codex, so it's like if you've already got the Chaos Codex, you just need to buy the outer Vigilus book, and that will give you the units and stuff that you need to update your one. Whereas if you're new into the hobby altogether, you just buy the new Chaos Codex. So maybe we'll see something with a new Gazgul and some extra units in the future. Is this the format Games Workshop has gone forward with for all of the codexes? I don't know.
Please,
so I cannot have a crystal ball
let
knocking
it
around.
be
If
so.
I had one, I'd be trying to gaze into the future. You never know.
You brought out interesting points. So this was a real interesting. I remember when they first started talking about these new Chaos releases and stuff, and then there was the talk of a new codex, and I thought, blimey, they didn't leave that long, did they? They obviously only had a new codex, last year?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhat like since the new edition, they've gotten like Index, Codex, two Vigilus books, and now a new Codex. So like,
and it's
players' pockets are empty.
But it's interesting, like I say, so this new codex it rolls. Basically, what it does, this new codex, is it takes all the specialist attachments from the Vigilus book, the points changes from like the FAQs and stuff, and from chapter approved, and it takes all those extra little stuff. So when like the position that we're in now, needing several books and FAQs and whatnot to create your army lists and look up your rules and your units, is what we're facing at the moment, and what most factions are facing at the moment. What they've done is they've rolled all that into just not a replacement codex, but an updated codex. So it's still got all the stuff the old codex has, but with updated points and with all the extra gubbins and stuff thrown in there, like specialist attachments and warlord traits and all that good shit. So it's just created a bigger, better codex. And yeah, like Skarna was just saying, if you've already got the old codex, you don't need to rush out and buy this one, because if you've already got the Vigilus book and the chapter approved, and you don't mind thumbing through loads of different books and saving yourself a few quid, then you can do that. It's a bit of a ball ache though, so I imagine a lot of Chaos players will be quite happy to trade in their old codex and get this all in one book. And it's going to be interesting to see, like you say, whether this will happen for us and other factions. And it could be... would you be happy about that if they did that?
Well, it depends. If we got decent content that they needed to be folded in, then yeah, but like, what have we got so far? The Vigilus Defiant book, which came out how many weeks after the Codex?
Yeah, not long.
Like that pissed like a lot of players off as well. It was like, why wasn't this content in the Codex and split off into another book that costs €40 if you're buying directly from Games Workshop?
Yeah, it's not cheap. I mean? It's not cheap.
They're not cheap, man. They really aren't. And is there even any more content in the Vigilus Ablaze? It's like
I have no idea. I have no idea. It looks like, and I'm literally saying this just from an initial reaction, it looks like no, but I haven't looked into it properly. But there's certainly been no talk of orcs in it. All the stuff they're talking about currently is chaos. Any other faction doesn't seem to be getting much of a mention lately in terms of Vigilus. It seems to be chaos coming in and kicking ass. I know in the bit of the fluff that apparently Abaddon has kicked Marnius Calgar's ass, but not fully killed him. Calgar lives on to fight another day, but slightly
will never truly
crippled. Obviously didn't come up against Gilliman because that probably wouldn't have been a fair fight. But it looks like what your prediction was pretty much bang on when we talked about Vigilus before. You said the orcs are there at the moment, causing some carnage, being a nuisance. Eventually, the big boys are going to come in, have the battle, brush them aside, and they'll almost be an afterthought. And they're just there to tenderise the Imperium a bit before chaos lands. And
it's happened before. This exact format has happened before. If you look at the Stormclaw campaign, they did exactly the same thing, where the orcs came in, they invaded. I think this was originally when Imperial Knights came out, and then eventually it just turned into like the Imperium against Chaos, because like they were like, oh, demons coming along now. It's like, I thought this was an orc campaign. What? You know what I mean? So it's once you've been in 40k long enough, you start to see narratives that.
I mean, I guess we kind of always knew from the from the start of this that orcs were going to be bit players in it, as were Eldar and Tower, any other faction that's involved in it, because predominantly it is revolving around that gateway, through the rift, isn't it? It was always going to be Chaos and Imperium clashing heads, and other factions sort of coming in with their sort of side stories almost. So we kind of always knew that was expected.
They're playing to the limelight for those few short
minutes. But let's hope that GW doesn't forget that there are other factions and there are Xenos races out there that it wouldn't hurt them to, in the future, once sort of Vigilus thing is done with, to maybe focus on a different aspect and make something where, even if it's not orcs, even if it's like Tyranids or something, be the primary threat and the focus of something. Shake the sort of storylines up a bit, and get the all us Xenos players will be happy to see that. I think, even if it's not our own faction.
I'd love to see like that. Where's the fight where it's just orcs against Tyranids? Could you imagine they gave us like 2 campaign books for that? That would be a laugh.
That'd be cool.
You'd start off the first campaign book where it's just fighting them, and then you could do the second campaign book where it's like maybe the Nids and the orcs just sort of part ways and start wrecking face. You don't know, like.
I guess because in all the campaigns they kind of need someone to be the people you root for, don't they? They kind of need it speaks to people, doesn't it? That good versus evil.
Well, this is it. Like, it's a good idea for an orc player, but that'll be who collects the Imperium more.
I think if they were to do something focused on orcs, it's gonna be focused on orcs attacking the Imperium, isn't it? But that'll be good enough for me. I'll be happy with that. Maybe that new Gazgold model comes out, some new kits come out, we get an updated codex, and they'll
have another cracking out again.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, I do quite like the idea though of a updated codex. Like you say, if it's got stuff worth having in it, because our codex, for us speaking as orc players, we've not had the codex that long, and there hasn't been much updated in it. So currently it wouldn't be worthwhile, but as things go on and we get more chapter approved and FAQs, it's going to be more feasible. So yeah, it's an interesting direction GW have taken. I know I've seen it way in the past. I remember they did the Dark Eldar Codex 2nd edition, didn't they? Which was an updated, it was the same codex, but it was a codex with just improved rules and fixes and things in there. Because I think there was some.
Yeah, so they got like the 3.5 release. I think Chaos had a 3. Codex as well.
There was a couple of them that had that sort of volume 2 or that 2 stamp on there, so you knew it was the up to date one. It was the same codex essentially, but it was just an updated one. So they've done that a little bit in the past, but I think that's more to just fix things that were game breaking at the time. I think.
Like or the Codex creep.
Yeah. But it'll be, I don't know, it'll be interesting. I definitely see them doing something like that with Imperium probably being the next one in line for getting something like that and updated. Any of the loyalist factions of, Space Marines and things. But yeah, it will be interesting. But yeah, I'm envious though, man. I'm envious of Chaos right now. I'm so envious. I was envious of G-Steel Occult before because they got some great releases as well. And multi-part kits. Sorry, I'm going to say it again. I don't care how fucking much I say it, right? Multi-part kits. Now, I'm going to go into this for a bit because I've just got to get it off my chest again. But, right, you took, GW, you took the faction that is, not just in my opinion, unquestionably the top faction of all the factions in 40k for conversions and kit bashing and customization. And I'm not saying all the other factions like Chaos and Cult and pretty much any faction you can kit bash and customize that, but Orcs really epitomise that. And I think most Orc players are in that camp of kit bashing and converting. What did you give those players for that faction? You gave us fucking mono build kits with no options at all. Then very shortly afterwards, G-Steel Occult get this multi-part buggies and these different kits with all different options. Chaos get these amazing options and kits and stuff, and you get all this stuff. And I'm sorry to sound ungrateful and like a salty, moany old bastard that should just be grateful that he got some new stuff, because I know there's some factions out there that are probably crying out for some desperate, Sisters of Battle players and stuff are probably scoffing at me right now. But do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Back me out here, man. Back me up, man.
I get you. I do agree with you. We talked about it at length when the kits originally came out. It's like, it's nice having 6 boogies. That's all well and good, but like, who asked for 6 boogies? I don't think anybody did.
Nobody.
People were talking. What was the talk we were having beforehand? What was the hype? People were talking about Prime Orcs, a Prime Gazgul. That's, what I mean? That's what people were getting hyped up for. They were like, a new Gazgul, bigger Gazgul, maybe bigger Orcs even. It's like, or Scar Boys or something.
Boys, Ard Boys. We were crying out for buggies. We were crying out for buggies. And when they first unveiled them, and I thought, wow, buggy. I was totally sucked in by the hype. That was the first one they showed, and it looked, and they had that thing where they smashed the old buggy with the hammer, and it was replaced. And I thought, wow. And then they started showing more, and I thought, oh, they're just gonna have all different options and guns, and you'll be able to choose to have a cannon and you'll be able to really customise and personalise your buggies and have them. And that wasn't the case at all. They had very restricted buggies with set guns that you couldn't change anything on it. Not just in terms of the miniature, but in terms of the rules of it as well. There's nothing you can change. The only thing that you can change slightly is the Death Killer War Trike by giving it a Warlord trait. That's it.
But you can finally buy those 2 buggies that came in the Speed Freaks box set separately now, by the way. There you go, there's some Orc news for you.
Bit of Orc news. We are an Orc channel. Good save.
There you go.
For the first half an hour of this show, everyone's going, I don't care about Chaos. We talk about some greenskins, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, we're getting there slowly.
So yeah. We will always if there's no Orc news, we will find some way and some things to talk about Orcs. And we do have things coming up in this show that we're going to have a good chat about Orc related. But I think we're quite masterful at turning any Games Workshop news, we know what it is, and putting an Orky twist on it and go, well, what does this mean for us? And usually it means
into a pissing rant. That's what
usually it means absolutely fuck all for us. But we'll twist it anyway because we've got to.
It's like, oh, see this really cool thing that came out for this faction. Yeah, what if we got something like that? Oh, well, then I think it would be this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's really good to see that Chaos are getting some.
Yeah, and I'm happy for the Chaos players because Chaos is one of the best factions in the game. I think I love Chaos, and I think they have great scope for conversions and customizations, and you can take it in so many different directions with Chaos. and you can see why the faction's so popular. They just took Space Marines and made them 50 times cooler. You know, the Chaos Space Marines are so much better than those Imperium boys any day.
Such a Horus fanboy. Look at you.
I like the villains. I always have. I've never collected one of the good factions in the game. I just like all the bad guys in the storyline. But yeah. So anyway, we've talked about the news and the updates and the new stuff coming out. None of which is Ork. But hell, the next thing we want to chat about on this show is our pet hates in the hobby and in the game. Yeah, more in the gaming side of things, but our pet hates. And what I mean by that is we've been out there, whether it be at gaming clubs, whether it be with your mate or mates, friends, whatever, whoever you're playing with, brothers, sisters, spouses, what is it that they do that irritates you or sucks the fun out of the game in some way? It could be silly little things. You know, share yours down in the comments below. But before you do that, we've got probably a few stories, haven't we? I'm sure with your gaming experience over the years, you've got some pet hates.
Yeah. Some pet hates.
Pet peeves.
Pet peeves, I think, would be like there's one thing when people start off and they're learning the rules and they don't know stuff, but it's like when people blatantly, you know what I mean? Like,
cheat.
Pretty much people cheat. Yeah, we won't beat around the bush. People cheating because they have to win. It's like, I can't stand that, man. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the point in playing?
I fully agree.
You know what I mean? It's like how to play Grand Theft Auto or whatever on campaign mode, and as soon as you log into the game, you just put in unlimited ammo and invulnerability. It's like, what was the point in you buying this game?
Well, I agree with you on that. It's completely pointless. Sometimes we all do that on games to dick about on computer game stuff, but you're not causing any harm doing that, are you? Because that's just a game you're playing yourself.
There's not another person sitting across the hell from you, wasting about 2 hours of their life potentially. Yeah. You know what I mean? Having to put up with this shit.
Well, I think that myself and everyone watching this will agree with that pet peeve. And what's funny is even the people that do that, if they're on the receiving end of it, will agree with that pet peeve. No one likes being cheated. No one likes being cheated. And now that's slow. And like you say, it doesn't... That not just in wargaming, but in anything. Like when you hear the Olympics or something, someone's run the 100-metre sprint and won the gold medal at the Olympics, proudest moment of their life, and then you find out they're steroided up to the eyeballs. But you're like, well, how? I don't understand. If I won a game and I had knowingly cheated and the other player hadn't been aware of that, that would ruin it for me. I wouldn't go home feeling good. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but there's a lot to gain from winning as well, you know what I mean? It's like notoriety, fame, money. This is the problem with a lot of
in the tournament scene and stuff. But yeah, like when you're around your mate's house having a friendly game, what do you really gain from cheating and winning other than upsetting your mate and going home feeling like a dirty, scummy cheat?
I don't know, man. You're asking the wrong chap. I honestly don't know.
If you like cheating in 40k, please share in the comments below why what you get out of it and how much fun that brings you. I'll be interested to find out. I can't imagine any of our subscribers are that.
But have the gall.
Admit it.
To admit it. It's like the little old any of the subscribers would do it, but to be like, yeah, I do it. What about it?
Fuck them. I've got this. Obviously, that's a big pet hate, and I think everyone will agree with that. But I've got there's little pet peeves of mine. Like I used to play my brother-in-law, and we used to have fun games, and he collected Dark Elder, and later on the other type of Elder, the light Elder, the normal Elder. So, but he was a big Eldar fanboy. He loved the pansies, but he particularly loved the Dark Elder. And we had good games, and he was a great player in that we were quite. The games never ended in sort of tense arguments or disagreements or anything. We had fun games, and we both played to win, and they were just fun games. he was quite laid back. But one thing that really fucking bugs me about him every time was whether I went to his to play or whether he came to mine to play. And time was quite often limited, as it is, because you've got to be up for work or whatever. He never had a fucking list ready. Ever. Doesn't matter if we were playing Apocalypse. You know, and I'm like, I've been spending the night before or whatever getting a list ready and working on my points. So I turn up with my list, all my stuff ready to go. Or he comes to mine and I've got it all set up, ready to go. He hasn't even got a fucking list ready, and then it's like an hour passes as he's writing out a 3,000 point fucking army list, and it really fucks me off, because I think it's inconvenient, it's annoying, it's boring sitting there waiting for someone to write a fucking army list, and I think it shows it's a little bit of disrespectful, I think, as well. It's almost like, well, I've been quite excited about this game. And you've kind of just, are you even bothered? Do you want to be here right now? Should we just not bother? Because it doesn't look like you care, quite frankly. I didn't say this. I was kind of going, rolled my eyes at him, made a few jokes and let him write it. But it does irritate me, that shit. And like, if you have a game with someone, you set up a game, have the courtesy to have your list ready, because don't make them wait around while you do your list. Because this is a top tip for everyone out there, especially if you're playing me. Don't do that shit.
Says the man who rolls up with an army that's blue tack together, huh?
Hey, fuck you. Yeah, fair play.
I'm sorry,
I can imagine there's already some people. There will be some people right now in the comment section. My pet peeve. Unpainted armies.
blue tack together armies.
Yeah, I've got some front, man. For those of you that don't know, I don't know if it was ever revealed in the video, I don't think it was, but in the game I had against it, as Scarno was just pointing out, some of my units were not just unpainted. For a 40k battle report on quite a big channel, some of them were held together with blue tack because I hadn't finished converting them yet. And yeah, so I've got some gall to do that. And I got away with it as well. No one mentioned it, which was cool. But yeah, I'm sure that is a pet peeve of people's as well. Unpainted armies.
Painted armies. Yeah, quite a few people have.
Do you know what? I used to that used to irritate me actually as well, because I had a fully painted Necron army, and it did frustrate me at times when I was playing against people and they just had done nothing. Like, you could have paid something.
I can understand it. It's almost like when you're talking about you having your list ready and your opponent not. It's like you've bothered to paint your army, and they haven't.
Yeah,
so,
I do get it.
I can understand. As a man who has a horde of unpainted miniatures, I can understand. Unlike having two armies fully painted on a full painted train and table setup looks amazing.
Oh, it does, yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's nothing worse than someone's put the effort in the terrain and their army, and then
you tarnish it with your monstrosities.
Yeah, you tarnish it.
With grey plastic and blue tack.
Yeah, exactly. I beat that guy, so I know what it's like being on that side of it, and it's, I can understand it. It's something similar to the not having your army list ready, in some regard to some people. I can get that. But I can also understand that it's hard for people to get painting done, to make the time. You know what I mean?
Well, we can definitely understand that.
Or even just to motivate yourself, because I find when it comes to painting miniatures, it comes in waves for me. I get this like super motivation, I get into it, I get painting, I get way too into it, and I just burn out, and it's like after it, oh well, I got like 20 miniatures painted over the period of like 6 months or something,
Yeah, totally. Well, we'll have to ask Idic what his feelings are on that. I'm sure it's one of his pet peeves is grey blue tack.
That man's a machine when it comes to painting. It's like, paint me, like, it's like, you what?
He's a machine when it comes to everything. The YouTube content, the painting, the building, the converting. I don't know how he does it. And he's not, he's not a man that has loads of time on his hands either. He's got a family, he's got a job, so he's got some of these restrictions that we all face and stuff, and still, it's just dedication, man. It's dedication. Lack of excuses. He doesn't make excuses, he just cracks on and does it. But another pet peeve, what have I written down? Oh, here's one. Fast dice rolling. In two senses. Another friend of mine.
Explain what it is first.
Yeah, so you roll dice. So you've got your squad. You shoot another squad, and you've got to roll to hit, and then you've got to roll to wound, and they've got to roll saves. What people do is like, roll a bunch of dice. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, 20 hits. Yeah, that many wounds, and it's done really quickly. And you're like, you haven't been able to sort of say, whoa, hold up. And I've been on the receiving end of this. My brother-in-law, the same guy who's talking about like army list done, used to do it, but he didn't do it knowingly trying to cheat. He was just quite a quick player, and he knew his army so well. However, he didn't know my army that well, and so sometimes he would mistakenly just roll a load of dice and go, "Well, that's 7 dead." I'm like, "Well, no, it's not. First off, they've got invulnerable saves or something, or their toughness 5, your strength 3. So no, actually, let's redo that, or let's look at those dice," because he was so used to fighting another opponent where that would happen. So it wasn't done in a sense of he was trying to cheat. It was just done in a sort of ignorance kind of thing. But a player who I will name actually, he was called Stuart, and he taught me the game, let's say, although I was mostly self-taught, but he was the first person I played properly in 3rd edition, with my Necrons against his Khorne army, his World Eaters. And yeah, he used to do fast dice rolling, and it was quite blatantly to cheat, and that used to fuck me off quite royally. And even in my first games, this is my first game, it was almost like he was like, I'm not losing to someone who's never played before. Like, I couldn't live that down, you know. It was yeah. So and I'm like, well, hang on a minute. That you said 3+ to hit. That was a 2 there, wasn't it? Like, you just picked up, and he was like, oh, was it? You knew it was a fucking 2. Don't fuck me about. And he used to do shit like that, and that used to fucking wind me up. And I'm like, there's just no need for that. And yeah, I don't think he liked the fact that my Necrons kept getting up after he shot them, and that they were cutting through his Khorne berserkers. And yeah, he wasn't enjoying the fact that Necrons were quite a powerful faction there when they first came out. And so yeah, he was trying to effectively, like your pet peeve, cheat. And yeah, I don't like
Stuart,
fast
you
dice.
cheating bastard.
Yeah.
Shame.
I have not seen him for many years, so I doubt he'll be watching this. If he is, Stuart, I'm sorry. But yeah,
You're a cheating bastard, Stuart.
I mean, I avoid that when I roll my dice, partly for myself to run it through in my own head, but also for my opponent. I will say, right, I will pick up the dice. I will literally talk my opponent through what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I'll say, right, I've got 10 Orc boys there, all with shooters. They get 2 shots each. So that's 20 shots. Okay, they need 5s to hit. Roll the dice. Okay, bang, 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 bang. I push away all the misses. They can see the 5s. Pick them up. Right. Now I need 4s to wound. Bang. And I'm telling them all the way what I need to hit as I'm doing it. So, and Joe, who I regularly play, does the same thing. You know, you'll say, right, 3s to hit. You know, this, and it just it keeps it's great because everyone knows what's going on. Even if you do it, if you're just doing it quickly, not because you're trying to cheat, you're just trying to get the game done, you still have to let your opponent see the dice or tell them what to be rolled or something, because it may give the perception that you're cheating or doing something, there is some foul play afoot, and then it might make you look like you're cheating when in fact you're not, you're just trying to play the game quickly.
I think it depends. It depends. If there's quick, like, there's been instances with me. There's a guy I play a lot, Alan. I don't know if he's watching, but hey, Alan.
Hey, Alan.
He's got his own.
Alan.
He's got his own.
Alan.
He's got his own.
Alan.
Room.
It's alright. He's going. Can't.
He's got his own gaming room, and it'll be a case of like, I'll be pulling miniatures off the table because they're being killed by the truckload. But he's the type of guy where it's like, I've played him that many times, he's honest. It's like, I don't have to watch his dice rolls.
Yeah.
I could be busy putting my miniatures away. I don't give a shit, like, you know what I mean?
I get that. With Joe.
It just depends. I think it depends who you're playing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm very much the same. Like with when me and Joe play, you quite often during his turn, I'll finish my turn. It's his turn, and I'll say, well, I'm just nipping out for a fag. So I'll go out and I'll smoke a cigarette, and he's moving his stuff, and he's rolling dice and doing bits, you know. Obviously, I have to be there for the armour saves and stuff, but yeah, I know 100% that I can trust him fully. And he's the same, you know. He might say, I'm, you know, going to grab something to eat, or I'm going to make a cup of tea or something while I'm, and we can do that because we know that neither of us are going to pull shit like that. I did much the same with Idic, even during the battle report with Idic. You know, I said, because I'm a smoker and, you know, I like a cigarette, and it's hard not having a cigarette through this show, but I'm trying hard not to. But yeah, during the games with Idic, when it was his turn, I know Idic would never pull shit like that, so I was quite happy for him to have a cigarette while he did his bits. And yeah, I think it depends on the situation, doesn't it? But you just let your player see what you're doing, you know, and just so fast dice.
Yeah, it's polite gaming etiquette to just explain as you're going through, gauge how the other person, you know, if they're happy enough for you to roll the dice quickly, or maybe they want it to be explained as you're playing through, because you never know, like, especially if you're at a tournament, whatever, maybe that person's never played their army before, you know what I mean, maybe you've never played their army before, so if you're doing it the way you were saying it, where you're explaining, oh, I'm going to use my strength for weapon against your guys, their toughness, what? Oh, they're 5? Oh, well then that means I need whatever, 5s or whatever, you know what I mean? So as you explain through it, you might pick up
definitely
that and your opponent might correct you and say, well, actually, no, you'll actually, you know, you hit on them better because of this, so you'll win better.
Well, that's it. Yeah, like you say, you may roll. I need like there's 5s to hit. I'm going to shoot at that target. I need 5s to hit. You might go, whoa, hold on. No, my unit's got a special rule. It's -1 to hit, or you know, something like that. Or no, you can't target this unless it's the closest target. There's all things, and those things come up because you're communicating well. So the communication with each other, and you know, explaining each other's factions and armies and what you're doing is important. And but one thing Stuart used to do that took it a bit further, I take it from fast dice rolling to aggressive dice rolling, meaning that not at me, although I think at times he would have liked to. A few people might like to, but at my miniatures, and these Necrons that I had lovingly painted and varnished, and you know, was very proud of. There would be times where I think through frustration, and roll his dice literally like a skimming stone across the table, smashing my Necron warriors over. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? It's not a bloody shooting range, you know. It's respect the other person's army. Don't hurl your dice at them. That's like, we all do it sometimes. We roll the dice and one goes astray, but sort of doing it deliberately is a dick move. Put it that way. It's a dick move.
Yeah, I've never come across that before, but you reminded me of another pet peeve I have, and it's not other players, it's me. It's when you're playing through the game and you realise, oh shit, I forgot that bonus like 2 combats ago, and I hate when that happens. You're like, and it would have made such a difference as well. It's like, I forgot that special rule, I forgot this special rule. It's like, or after the battle, you're like, I should have been rolling to hit on 2s instead of 3s. That would have changed that combat. I hate when they do that. It does my nutting.
Yeah, same.
Do you know what I mean? Especially when there's moments in the battle where you're playing and it's like after the fact, and it's like a face palm moment. You're like, shit, I forgot.
Especially when it's
special role.
Especially if it's the same thing that you have done several times before, so you should know better.
You're trying to remind yourself. You almost need a sticky note in your bleeding head at that stage.
Attack squig. That's something I always forget. My war boss. I look at his, he's got 4 attacks, right, boom. And then later on down, I haven't been doing my attack squig attacks. He gets another 2 attacks, and I'm like, fucking hell. And it's, like I say, it's something, I do it all the time, and it's so frustrating. It's just
warlord traits or relics. It's like, he doesn't have a normal power claw, he has the killer claw instead. It's like, fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Little things you keep forgetting.
Frustrating.
Especially, I find it especially happens if you've been playing with one type of list a lot, and then you make a change to it, and then you forget. It's like, oh shit, he doesn't have that war gear, he has this instead, or whatever. You know what I mean? You get yourself into that sort of that routine of thinking.
A pet peeve of mine, actually, like you said, that is that, but flipped on its head. After a game, especially if you've won the game, later on you're sitting at home reminiscing over your glory of battle, and then you think, it was great when, you know, my tank busters took out his, you know, land raider, or whatever. It was a good moment, feeling good, and you think, oh, hang on a minute, they shouldn't have done that. Because I should have had -1 for the. Oh, that wouldn't. And you're like, oh, you just tarnished your own victory. Like, oh, I'm a dick. I cheated. I unknowingly cheated. That always fucks me off because it
goes against the grain.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh shit. And I'm always honest about it. I'm like, mate, I did this in game, and when I killed your boss, that shouldn't have happened. And I'm like, fuck.
We'll do that happens. Yeah. So you'll talk about it the next time we play. Oh, remember last time we played? I killed you with this. It's like, yeah, I shouldn't have been able to do that. It should have been this way. It's like, all right, whatever.
Totally. I got one more, and I think quite a few players might have this one. Is bad losers. I find bad losers a struggle to play against, and I think that we've all got that within us to a greater or lesser degree. I think most people who play will play, and if they lose, they're friendly and cordial, and you have a good time regardless. But I think even the best of us, I think if we are getting absolutely trounced, like first or second turn wiped off the table sort of things, sometimes it can, this is just fucking ridiculous, whether it be, and it's not so much getting frustrated with oneself, because I get frustrated with myself sometimes. I get like, fucking dice, like, you just fucking, like, give me something here, Christ. But it's when they're taking it out on you, and when it's almost become your fault that they're losing, or that the excuses start coming out. And another mate of mine, Kev, we used to play, he was a great, he was a very fair player, and we used to have some good games. I had some very good games with Kev actually back in the day. But he would get very down if he was losing. He'd be like, oh, this is just typical, of course, I'm never going to win, of course, can't do that, can't do this, this is... And to the point where he would be a bad loser even if he was winning, which was really fucking hard to take. Like, he's annihilating my army, and then one gun misses, and he goes, "Oh well, this is just typical." I'm like, mate, you fucking wiped out half my army. What the hell are you got the bitch about? You're beating me. But yeah, I've had it with more players than a lot of people actually, even people that you wouldn't think sometimes. At gaming clubs and stuff, and I've played and. They've seemed quite good fun, and until we're into the game, and then I'm winning and things aren't going their way, and I'm like, I'm starting to see a sort of different side of you now. And like I say, I think we've all got it in us to a degree. I think most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, have had their moments where we've been a little bit sore from losing, whether it be from our own dice, or we feel they've mistailored, or there's a little bit of foul, whatever. It can sometimes be like frustrating, and it can show, but I think it's important that we all don't do that as much as possible, because it spoils the other players, and at the end of the day you are there. Yeah, you're there to have fun. And I think I've had games where I've lost and they've still been really good fun, and I've had games where I've beaten people badly sometimes, and they've still been really, cracking jokes about, and it's been such a fun experience. And I think it just really ruins the enjoyment sometimes when someone's just looking like they want to top themselves across the table, or they're getting angry, or they're making snide remarks about your army's overpowered, or, oh, how could I be that, and they are taking away from your victory. Like, no, your victory's got nothing to do with your skills or your tactics or your choices. It's to do with the fact that your army's overpowered, and that's the only reason you've won. I'm not letting you have any good feelings about this victory. I'm going to take all that away from you. I'm going to be a sore bitchy loser about it, and just fuck off.
I've been on both sides of that. I've been like that myself, where it's like, when a battle's going really bad and you're just getting frustrated about it, and then you start, you're not enjoying yourself anymore. But then I find myself being conscious of trying not to be too fucking down about it, because you don't want to ruin it for the other person. No. You know what I mean? Sometimes that happens. You know what I mean? There's no excuse about it, or for it, should I say. The game's the game. I've also lost on being tabled and fucking loved it. Yeah. That's how I started off with Orcs, man. I was playing with Space Wolves, I think it was 3rd edition. I was playing against an local Orc player, Kron. I don't know if you're watching, but you're a fucking legend. And he wiped the table with me. That's how I started with Orcs. I got tabled and I fucking loved it. Yeah. And he had cool conversions. That's how I started with Orcs. You know what I mean? So I've been tabled and loved it. I've been tabled and it was like, well, what the fuck was the point in that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I find I get annoyed when it's game mechanics I'm coming up against. It's like, you're a sound guy, but to play against this army was like, why did I bother showing up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I've had people going absolutely ballistic at me because they were losing. And these are close friends at the time.
Yeah.
Really close friends. I've had them all sorts of fucking names and going absolutely mad, and it's like
fisticuffs.
Nearly. I'm like, mate, if you get so pissed off about the game, it's like, why do you play?
Yeah.
Like that bad.
I think that represents deeper issues. I think if someone's getting that tense over it,
you know what I mean? I find with 40k, you know what I mean, it seems to draw in people who are from different spectrums in life, but we're all a bit quirky in our own ways.
Oh yeah.
That'll probably be the polite way to put it. I think most 40k players and Warhammer players, we're all a bit quirky in our own little way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. There's something, different about us. That's for sure, damn sure.
We're a different breed. We're
like you say, I've had people like good friends that are still good friends to this day, but during a game there's been sort of moments where if I've been winning, they've just sort of, it could be something as silly as like just a bit of a snide remark or something. I've had even like if you didn't win this, you'd be a shit player because of course you were like, well, there's no need for that. What? Look, I don't write the rules. GW write the fucking rules. I had this faction long before these rules came out, so don't throw that at me. That's not my fault. I'm playing for fun. And, whether it be a new codex has come out or a new rule has come out and it's buffed your army and made it a lot better, and it's like, motherfucker, you have lost 8 games in a row to you, and I never fucking pulled out shit like that. Yeah, now I'm winning one, and you're throwing that.
Like 7 years of a shit codex.
Don't be throwing that shit at me. That's not cool. But I don't. I will let stuff like that slide most of the time to a degree. There'll be a point where I'm like, well, you know what? If you don't like it, fuck off. But I think because we knowingly, we've all had moments like that. Have you ever had anyone just say, "Oh, I quit. I'm not playing. I'll stop this game. I don't want to play anymore."
Yeah.
Or have you ever done that?
Have I ever quit? I've gotten to a point in a game where it's like, I've quit, but it's only because it's like I've got a Gorgonaut left on the table and we could play for 2 more rounds, but they've clearly won and I'm just wasting mine and their time. Yeah. And I'll be like,
that's different. That's kind of doing it for convenience more than.
No, but I've never played a game where it's like we're only like 2 turns in and I've lost 1 unit and then I pull a fucking wobbler and quit. I've never done that. I go into a mental sort of. What happens to me is I come up with my own sort of little thing to do. It's like, right, I've lost this game. What I'm going to do as much damage to you as I can. I don't care. Yeah. That's the mode I go into. It's just wreck face.
Definitely. Yeah. That's a great tip. I do exactly the same. If it's at a point where I'm like, I literally can't win now, I will find some sort of goal with him. Right, before he tables me, I want to kill his lord, or I want that tank dead, or I want to at least do something, or like you say, just simply, I want to kill as much as I can before he tables me and beats me on victory points or whatever. But yeah, that's a great tip, and it's a great way to keep the game fun, even when you're getting pounded. That sounded wrong, but I've quit. I have quit. I quit 2 games, both against the same person actually. One game in Warhammer Fantasy. So we had just bought the Battle for Skull Pass, split the contents between us. But although he was a regular player I played 40k with, I'd never played Fantasy. He had another player who he regularly played Fantasy with. So he was a big Skaven player. And so I got the Goblin part of the army. I built a Goblin army, and I bought the giant model when it had just come out. And I lovingly painted it and built it and It was a beautiful model, and it was like the centrepiece of my army. So I had a fairly small army at the time, but a goblin army with some spider riders and things. I had the giant, the first ever game of fantasy. And so I was like, right, you bring your Skaven over and we'll get a little game going. And no, what he did was he didn't bring his usual faction. He fully list tailored his dwarven army. I think it was a dwarven army, but he fully list tailored it specifically to kill my giant. And he did, turn one. He had made like the perfect counter to my very limited, restricted faction. And I thought, and he'd come round, and this wasn't meant to be a competitive game. This was meant to be a come round and teach me how to play. And he just spent the first 2 turns just wiping me out to where I couldn't do a thing, and gloating about it. And I'm like, you're a dick. Like, you're supposed to be showing me how to play. This is supposed to be just a game. It wasn't supposed to matter who won, but I thought, and that was my only game of Warhammer Fantasy. And I think, yeah, I've ever said, mate, there's no point playing this. You've killed everything. Just quit it. And I just did. And yeah, I sold the goblins and I never played fantasy again. And then another time was, it wasn't really connected to the game itself. He had done a bit of list tailoring again. I borrowed my brother-in-law's Dark Elder army because I wanted just to try them out for fun. So I built a fluffy Dark Elder list. And I had all mounted, so I had raiders filled with warriors and incubi and witches and stuff. And there's a bit of war gear they could use at the time where you put the blast marker down and it acts as a portal for other units to deep strike through. And he had bearded up on the rules and telling me all this while he happily did it, surrounded this portal with his space walls, which was his plan before we even started playing the game. Because he knew I was going to try this bit of war gear out, and effectively stopped like a third of my army coming onto the table, and yeah, just obliterated me. And but it was the beardiness and the gloatiness, and I'm like, I'm just trying this faction out for the first time for a bit of fluffy type game, and I wasn't in a good place at the time either. So there was a bit of other stuff going on at the time. I was pissed off with him for other reasons as well, let's say, and I just said, do you know what? You've won, whatever. I hope you're happy. Just let's pack up and finish. I'm done. And that was it. But yeah, that's the only 2 times I've ever sort of said, no, bollocks, I'm done. And against the same person. Which was weird because other times, me and him, we had some amazing games together, whether they be really, you know, I think it depends what you come into the game for, doesn't it? Most of the time we were coming at it, both of us, from a competitive standpoint, and we had fun on that, gloating and winding each other up and having some fun. But I think when one player's coming at it and wants to play from more of a narrative aspect, or wants to be taught some things and learn the game, and the other player's coming at it as a destroy my opponent no matter what, they butt heads, and that doesn't work.
Well, yeah, I really don't see the point in doing that if you're teaching someone how to play the game. Like, that's the worst. Like, if you want to discourage someone to never play a game again, it's like, yeah, just table them. Yeah. What's the point in that? How are you encourage them? It's like, yeah, come play this game where I'm just going to table you. You won't be able to fight back. You won't have fun. It's great. I mean, it won't be interesting for you.
I've been doing that in Kill Team lately because I've taught my brother to play and another friend of mine to play. And so what I've done is I've let them win, so it makes it fun for them.
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
I didn't let them win. They beat me. I'm winking. You can't pick it up on there, but I'm winking at the screen. Yeah, no, I didn't let them win. I'd like to let them win, but no, they beat me fair and square. But yeah, it's great. But seeing them, you know, getting, especially with my brother, we had such a fun game. It was his first ever game, and it was just really fun. And it was quite a close game as well. But I think him winning it as well was an extra little spur of him. I really like this hobby. This is cool. This is fun. I had a good time, and it was quite a tense, close game as well. It came right down to the wire, and yeah, it's and I was just happy to see having fun. I'm like, this is good. Like, they're going to get into the hobby. They're going to want to play more games, and this gives me more people to play. It's good. But yeah, so that's my pet hates anyway. But like I said, share your pet hates down below.
I'd be very interested to see what ones pop up.
Definitely.
If there's a lot, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have the same pet hates as us, but I'm sure there's some odd ones out there that.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah, the odder the better. Actually, they're
obscure.
Yeah,
so throw in the comments. It'll be very interesting to see what pops up.
But yeah, so that was pet hates. But let's not finish the show on a downer talking about things we hate. Let's talk about things we love. And so we want to make at least one part of the show Ork related. So we want to talk about our favourite units in the Ork Codex. Units that we almost always have in our army lists, or miniatures that we love to build and paint, or just miniatures we love the look of, or we love the lore and the fluff, or a combination of all of that. What are your favourite units in the Codex?
How many are we picking? What, like 3? Top 3?
Oh. What's your number one? What's your ultimate? You just love that unit.
It'd be number 1 for different reasons. Number 1 for fluff and looks would be Commandos, because I'm a Blood Axe player. I've always loved Commandos.
That makes
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like converting green berets on them and adding silencers, and I've always liked the fluff and the fact that they're like sneaky gits.
Yeah.
I can see it over there.
Sneaky gits.
I always like Commandos. Sadly, I don't think they're as amazing on the tabletop as they could be. You know, they're very situational.
Yeah.
But I do love Commandos. But the units I always bring, I nearly always have brought looters since I started playing Orcs.
I think a lot of people watching this will second that. The looters are always talked about as a favourite, aren't they? Always.
I always, because when I started with Orcs, I used to just bring hordes and hordes of boys, and the problem I found was the lack of fire support to distract the enemy while your boys are getting up close and personal. Because if they're not shooting at your boys and they're shooting at looters, that means there's going to be more boys getting into combat. You know what I mean? So that was the way. That's why I like looters, and I can't really ignore them either, because if I get lucky with the dice rolls, they're going to dish out some damage.
It means you're killing stuff from turn 1, not turn 2.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always brought looters, and then the other unit I'd say is probably tank busters because of their damage potential. They're like looters and tank busters. Yeah, they're like favourites at this stage. But
I'll second that. Certainly since 8th edition, that's for sure. Tank busters they're a unit. I don't think I've done a game where I haven't used my tank busters. They're awesome. Game terms, just brilliant. I mean, they were good in the index. They've got so much better in this book. And when you combine the things like the freebooters, or the bad moons, or snake bites even, those extra buffs to them from the clan traits, and then the stratagems that you can combine with that unit, they fuck shit up. And they've done, they took out a monolith in my game with Idic like it was nothing. They've taken out several dreadnoughts in games. They've destroyed, I can't remember what they're called, but Forge World Space Marine tanks. They've caused heavy damage to stuff. They even shot a few rockets in Magnus's arse and caused him some problems. But they're just brilliant. Yeah. They're brilliant. They're brilliant, and they're great from a modelling aspect. I don't like, as I think sure most people don't that keen on them, is the actual kit that GW sell for tank busters. Not a fan of it at all. I don't think many people are, but they're great fun to build and convert and kit bash from your boys and from your looter kits and from whatever else. And you've only got to Google search tank buster conversions, and you will see all sorts of crazy ass conversions. And they've from snakebite ones where they've changed the spears with rockets and stuff, and they've done ones that are just holding a big rack of missiles over their back like that, and just crazy shit with tank hammers and stuff. They're just awesome. I love them, and they fit Bad Moons beautifully. And if you're all about the Dakka, tank busters are right up there with some of the best Dakka in this book. For completely different reasons, though, I love killer cans. I love killer cans.
Cool, yeah. I can understand that.
They're pretty crap on the table,
They're terrible on the table.
You know, they've got slightly better since the index, just because their points have dropped a bit. But I like them. I just love the models. And occasionally they do work well. My first game with them, when I first played, not my first game with them, but my first game with them with this book, they did really well in that game actually. But I think that was because my opponent knew that they were pretty crap and he hadn't targeted them and he underestimated them. And when he had 5 of them charging into his units at full strength, they were surprisingly effective. So they have done me some good in some games. But yeah, for what they do, they are a bit overcosted, let's say, or they just always seem to underperform, or at least most of the time. The same with that is Death Dreads as well. I had slightly better results with Death Dreads, but again, I just love them. I love the tin can with arms and legs, the whole vibe of it. I've always had a soft spot for Ork Dreadnoughts and Deaths. But one more is, and I know you're going to disagree with me here, is the Gorkanaut. I love the Gorkanaut. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the model, and I know it gets some hate from some people.
No finger point.
And you're not alone in that either. I see a lot of comments.
It's not a great mod. It's good on the tabletop. I'll say that much. It seems to hold its own.
I love some of the things that people don't like about the miniature. I really like. I love the fact that it's just this sort of fat, squat thing that almost. I love the look of it. I love the orc on the back of the Gatling gun. You know, that's actually. I just think it looks cool as hell. And on the tabletop, in the index, it was a bit shit. It had its moment, it was alright, but in this book, and with some of the rules and the stratagems and things you can use with it, it's got a lot better. And it's pretty good unit, I think. When used properly and in the right circumstances, I think it's a good unit. But yeah, number one, it's got to be the Tank Busters for me. But
Tank Busters are pretty good on the table.
But guys, share what your favourite units are, and it can be for whatever reason, whether you like the lore and the fluff of that unit, whether you like the miniature, or whether you just think they kick ass on the tabletop. Yeah, share them down in the comments, because we'd be interested to read them and have a look at them. But I think that brings the show pretty much to a close, doesn't it? We've ended on a nice high there. I think it's been...
we covered a fair bit. We did actually cover a fair little bit. Yeah.
We've done a bit. And for those of you that don't just listen to us while you're painting or whatever and actually like something visual, you've actually been able to see us. And I don't know whether that's a plus. I can see it now in the comments. Please go back to the old format. Bring back the picture. You are
they burn.
You're two ugly motherfuckers. But yes, guys, we will be back soon. Hopefully, we won't leave it as long as the last show was before we get another episode of this up. And hopefully, we'll have some Orc-related news to share with you. We've got Kill Team Elites on the horizon, so this could pose some new interesting things for Orcs. And hopefully we'll have some of that. But if we don't have any Orc-related news, we'll make some shit up and we'll just talk about Orcs.
We'll just talk bollocks, as always.
It's what we do.
Going on.
It's what we do. Alright, guys. Yeah. That's 6 Plus Stevo signing out.
And Scanner saying goodbye until the next episode. Take it easy.
It's not quite as catchy, is it? Oh yeah, that'd be a good way to finish.